Hi, this is Thomas from Believe in the Run.
This is Meaghan with Believe in the Run.
And Meaghan, I love this shoe.
You're at a loss for words?
I am. This shoe is a lot of fun. Wasn't expecting this one. Wasn't on my radar. They didn't show it to us last year at the running event. And here it is. And you know, I'm kind of hard on Brooks sometimes. And I have to say, this one, pretty excited about.
What we're talking about here is the Brooks Glycerin Max. So a brand new shoe, came out of the Blue Line, their innovation team. So let's start with the upper here. You've got a pretty simple mesh upper. It's nice and breathable, but it's also got some decent padding, especially around the collar and tongue. It is not a gusseted tongue, but I didn't have any issues with it sliding around.
Yeah, it fits really nicely, true to size, 10.5 fit perfectly. The upper is really nice, but the look of it, I think also is really good. Brooks nailed it across the Hyperion line as far as uppers go. And it's nice to see this one trickling down into their like other lane. And it just looks good. I think the shoe is a cool looking take on a max cushion shoe. One thing that is a little odd is there's a lot of volume in the upper. I had to actually, you can see, cinch down the laces pretty tightly to get like a good fit over the top. And the other thing that's odd is almost like a reverse. A lot of times you'll see in the racing shoes, you'll get that off-centered lacing. This one actually kind of almost leans into the inside rather than the outside. I'm wondering if that's to make room for this big, logo placement.
Yeah, so I agree with Thomas. This is definitely a wider shoe. There's plenty of volume in the upper. I appreciate that. I actually think maybe some people who wear a wide shoe, like our friend Jarrett.
I actually had him try it on.
And did it fit?
It fits.
Okay, so if you do have a wider foot, this might work for you. Overall, the upper fit true to size for me as well. No hot spots, no rubbing, just a very comfortable, I think like a true max cushion upper. Like it felt plush, it felt comfy on step-in.
Yeah, now the real magic of this shoe though comes down to the midsole.
Yeah, so this is, first of all, you get a ton of stack here. So it's 45 millimeters in the heel, 39 in the forefoot for a 6 millimeter drop. And they're using this new, what they're calling DNA tuned foam.
It's kind of interesting because there's two parts to it. There's one that's just how from here to here it's different in the size of the air bubbles inside of the puck. But there's also an insert, almost like the old Rim Core style of shoe where they used to take one foam and kind of layer it into another foam that kind of was the carrier foam. The problem with that is that you have glues and other adhesives that do it. So in this case, when they do the supercritical process, which is heating up the material and it almost pops like popcorn when they infuse it with the nitrogen, what they do in this one, there's two pucks actually put together and you can kind of see it lightly through the shoes. Yeah, you can see pink in hers and green in mine coming through the translucent white foam. And that initial piece in there is really nice and soft. So you get a nice like initial sink in, while the outside, this tuned with the smaller bubbles in the forefoot to give you more of like a poppy sensation and a more open in the heel to give you more cushioning. The way that they all work together is really kind of sensational. You get like a land bounce and then the toe spring and rocker in this works really well. Like it doesn't feel like you're up on this giant stack. It just feels really comfortable. Yeah,
I have to agree with all of that for sure. And I used to feel like a lot of these nitrogen infused foams were maybe a little bit firmer and they didn't have quite that resiliency and that bounce that we're now getting in a shoe like the Puma Mag Max, and now we're seeing this Brooks Glycerin Max. And it's one of the best feeling shoes I think I've put on my feet this year. You get that comfort and that cushion from all of this stack, and you also get that responsiveness because of the way this foam has been designed. And it's just a really, really nice feel. Like I would go out and do 3 miles, I would go out and do 25 miles. Like it's just a shoe that feels comfortable throughout like all of your running.
A lot of times when you get these max stack, if the foam isn't tuned correctly, it almost feels like you're running through sand, or it's like you come down and it's like maybe too soft, or sometimes you get them and they have them too firm, and so you just have this giant block under your foot and you're like, why do I need this much stack to have it feel like I'm not getting that cushion? The cushioning in this is just, I know we've already said it, but it is really like
it's
almost
unique.
perfectly tuned.
And they called it DNA tuned for a reason, probably. So
see?
And then, of course, you have plenty of rubber on the outsole here, and it doesn't interfere with the midsole foam. I feel like sometimes if you have a ton of rubber, it almost takes away from that cushion.
When you say a ton of rubber, it's really actually not that much rubber. It's good rubber coverage. It's going to get it where you need it here in the areas where we're going to see some abrasion. But there's plenty of open space here as well. One of the things that I liked about it though is this rubber was really grippy.
Yeah.
So I know that, you know, we talk about stuff like Puma grip and stuff like that really bites into the ground. I felt like very secure going over wet wood decking, brick, cement, all the different surfaces. This has a really good feel.
While some of the Max cushion trainers we've reviewed this year, like the New Balance More V5, I feel like those tend to fall into more of those recovery days, easy run days. This shoe, just because of the midsole material, I feel like you can run a little bit faster and you can pick up the pace. So maybe for that long run that has some marathon pace stuff in it, I think you could use this shoe.
And it's interesting because across the board, our reviewers, from everybody from our Clydesdale runner to Lindsay, to you, to Robbie, to myself, everyone liked this shoe. It was like one of those ones that crossed over. And that's kind of rare. Sometimes we'll always have one person that's like, this doesn't really work. The only critique of this I'd have is the amount of volume in the upper. I kind of like the way that the Mag Max from Puma kind of has a narrower feeling upper, but then you have the wide shoe. This one, it gives you that extra room. Now it's not a deal breaker. I was able to get a good lockdown, a fit, everything was fine. The other question that we get is when we post this, everybody was like, oh, is this a Super Blast? Like, is it a competitor to the Super Blast? I feel like it's a different style of shoe. I think it could be a competitor for someone who wants a high stack, well-cushioned shoe. But I don't know that they exactly go head to head.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities in the use case of both of the shoes. We do, and we've been talking about this in a lot of our reviews recently, the shoes, a lot of them are getting heavier, and this is one that falls into that heavier category, especially if you're comparing it to a Super Blast. So my women's 7.5 came in at 9.2 ounces or 260 grams, that's on the heavier side.
Yeah, mine came in a little bit over 11 ounces and around 324 grams. So yeah, it's a little bit heavier. This one though, and I keep going back to the Puma Mag Max on this, both of them are a little bit heavier, but the way that the foams react, they don't feel heavy. They kind of just roll through your stride. That's where I put the differentiator between this and say like Super Blast. Super Blast is still fairly light.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the 8s for my size 10.5. So that one kind of elevates itself into a different category. But as far as comfort goes, this one sort of like in the cush department, I think beats out Super Blast.
It's one of those shoes that I've enjoyed so much, and it's fun to wear and it feels great. So you want to get out the door every morning and you want to lace this up. And I feel like that's what makes a good shoe. I
also like being like a foot taller when I'm wearing this.
Yeah. I mean, you can't deny that 45 millimeter stack in the heel is pretty nice. I just feel like Brooks this is, in my opinion, the best shoe that they've made.
I would have to agree. Like I'm seeing small changes at Brooks, at least in their performance line. I think that we've talked about their elite shoe that I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see an update to really soon. But the rest of the line, the look, the way that the uppers fit are some of the best in the industry, if not the best in the industry. And then I've always been like, okay, well, that's one section of it. For this to come out into like kind of that familiar area that we know about with the Glycerins, the Ghosts, and then that side of Brooks lineup, this by far is the favorite trainer I've ever put on my feet from Brooks. Yeah, definitely agree. So this one is going to be available on October 5th. It is going to cost $200, so we are getting up there in the price point. But honestly, this is one of my favorite shoes this year. If we were going to give a light, I think it's definitely getting a green light, the greenest of the green lights. Yeah, it's pretty green. Yeah. It's emerald. Yeah. So thanks for watching this. If you could, it really helps us out. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to check out other things, believeintherun.com has everything, and it even has a pop-up for our weekly email. In that weekly email, you'll find out everything that we've reviewed that week, everything video, everything written, and anything else that we've got going on. So it's worth the subscribe. Check it out.
All right.